taking action for you. 7 Action News This Morning starts right now.
Right now at 9, dangerous roads across Metro Detroit this morning. Flooding is making some major expressways impassable and leaving drivers stranded. We'll show you the areas you'll want to avoid. Jennifer Ann?
Yeah, I've been driving around with my photographer Marlon here all over Metro Detroit. We've seen Dearborn, Ecorse, Grosse Pointe. Right now we're live in Detroit. This intense flooding on I-94. Take a look. Coming up, we'll show you what it is we've discovered in the places you'll definitely want to avoid.
Thank you for joining us on a rainy morning across Metro Detroit. I'm Jen Schatz. It's good to be with you. We're seeing flooding, as Jennifer Ann mentioned, all across this area. We want to show you some video now from the Southfield Freeway at Warren Avenue. Crews there have been working through the night to try to get that water off of the road. Right now, we are also seeing flooding on I-94 at Michigan Avenue, Livernois, and at 8 Mile, I-75 between Mack and I-94, and on the Lodge near Jefferson. I took these photos myself this morning at the Lodge near I-94 in Detroit on my way to the station. You can see the water pooling on the expressway there. Many cars were driving the wrong way to try to get away from the water, or some were even trying to pass through it, which of course we know is very dangerous. We do have team coverage this morning for you. 7 Action News reporter Jennifer Ann Wilson is live, but first let's send things over to 7 First Alert meteorologist Hallie Vogel, keeping an eye on this rain as more of it moves through. Hallie?
All right, Jen. Well, the good news is we're getting a bit of a break. The bad news is the water is slow to recede, so it has been very heavy through the overnight. 3 on the low and 3 inches to over 6 inches reported. Garden City 6.61 in fact reported. These are radar estimated rainfall amounts, and it moved over the same area from Canton to Dearborn Heights to Hamtramck downtown to the Grosse Pointes in that 3 to 6 inch margin. Now we do have the flood warning that is going to be into effect until noon for Wayne and for Washtenaw counties because of the rain that has already fallen, but we're also looking at the possibility of more rain as we go through again the day today. So also rising quickly area rivers. So the Rouge River at Dearborn, Dearborn Heights at Detroit, all under a flood warning. And then also the new one to come in, Clinton River near Clinton Township, also a flood warning. And these are all until further notice, just kind of waiting to see how quickly these waters do recede. The flood watch in effect across southeast Michigan until 4 o'clock tomorrow morning. Could see an additional 1 to possibly even 2 inches of rain with some of the heavier storms that we'll be watching. Heavy rain has lifted off to the north, and we're going to continue to watch anything developing to our south and west out of the Chicago area, northern Indiana as well. So the threat for more storms comes into play this afternoon. A few of those could be strong to severe. We'll time it out, talk about when we'll see more rain, even heading into the rest of the weekend, Jen.
Hallie, thank you. And right now, Grosse Pointe Farms tells us that phone lines to public safety headquarters there are down. Emergency calls are now being redirected as repairs are ongoing. Our coverage this morning continues as people across Metro Detroit survey the damage this morning from those floods. Hundreds of cars stalled out on the roads and highways. Drivers were stranded, streets closed off, even basements flooded. 7 Action News reporter Jennifer Ann Wilson is live from Detroit's west side. Jennifer Ann, what have you seen so far? I've seen some pretty intense damage behind you there with that semi.
Yeah, and that is just scratching the surface, Jen. There are still hundreds of drivers still stranded. I spoke to one just a few minutes ago. She said she's been stranded since 1 a.m. She finally got a call saying a tow truck would be here in about an hour. But she said that same call, the tow truck company told her there were at least 100 other cars on the list, and that's just one tow truck company. So it's pretty intense. I want to show you what's happening here behind me. As you mentioned, we've been all over Metro Detroit, but right now we're at I-94 near Livernois. And if you didn't know this was a freeway, if you didn't live here, you would probably assume it was a river. That is just how deep the water still is hours later. One person told me that these semi-trucks have been sitting here since very early this morning for hours and hours and hours. You can see we got the yellow Central Transport, and then as we push further back, we have 2 semis there, one of them wedged under the overpass. Another one, it appears that they've got it hooked up to the tow truck, and it looks like they are putting something underneath it to help it float so they can pull it up out of the water. Definitely a lot of strategy it's taking to be able to remove these vehicles. We could see, it appears that there are vehicles even on the other side of this freeway, and this is just one of many many spots. My photographer Marlon, he had hopped over to the Southfield Freeway earlier. We have video of that you can take a look at, and you can see the Southfield Freeway near Joy looks really similar to what we're seeing here, just completely covered in water. Some vehicles being directed off the freeway, having to drive back up the on-ramp, and others, they're using cranes and other types of equipment to try to lift these vehicles out of the flooded road. It is really a mess. We've also had a lot of viewers sending us video. Marvin Kennedy sent us video and pictures, and you can see there's a number of flooded streets, side streets as well. He was telling us he actually was able to use his truck to help pull cars out of the water last night and this morning, and he took some of these videos and pictures along the way as he did that. So he sent us quite a few pictures. Now, as you guys know, it is really important to avoid water, avoid driving through it, because it's really hard to tell how deep it is until you're stuck. And if you do have flooded basements, you want to make sure that you can avoid those areas, especially if the water is covering electrical outlets or cords. Avoid floodwaters. You never know what is in there. Now, MSP, Michigan State Police, they say all freeways in Wayne County have major flooding issues, and even areas where the water is receded, they're littered with abandoned vehicles. So if you're stranded, call 911, but do not call 911 for an ETA. They are overloading the system. In fact, I heard from a couple people that said they tried calling 911 and couldn't get through. So the system is overloaded. Hundreds of vehicles still stranded, hundreds of people still waiting to get their vehicles towed. And troopers so far have handled hundreds of freeway and road flooding calls. We've got 39, 94, 96, a number of freeways. So we're going to be out here and continue surveying the area. But real quick, Jen, before we toss back, look at all these cars. When I first drove up, I thought these cars maybe were stranded from the flood, but no, this is such an unusual sight. We've got dozens and dozens pulling over just to take a look. This is something many people really have never seen to this extent before in Detroit. Reporting live here, right near 94. Back to you, Jen.
And just the sheer number from that one tow truck company, Jennifer Ann, those number of people waiting, I think shows us the impact that this flooding is having right now. Thank you so much. We'll check back in with you in our next half hour there. And whenever we see rain like this, people in one Dearborn Heights neighborhood, they fear the worst. That's because many on Courier Street say their homes have already flooded twice in 7 years. One woman whose home is near the Ecorse Creek says she's also lost 2 cars to water damage.
I get scared because I've been through 2 major floods here, 2014 and 2019. I had 5 feet in my basement. 2019, my sister was dying of cancer over at Belmont Dearborn. I couldn't get out because I was trapped in my home.
Dearborn Heights Mayor Bill Bazzi says he is working with the city's chief engineer and members of Congress to get funding for cleanup and new projects. He recently created a commission with people who live in the city to investigate and find ways to prevent future flooding. This storm leaving thousands of people still in the dark across Metro Detroit this morning. DTE Energy is reporting more than 35,000 outages right now. More than 100 crews worked through the night in an attempt to restore service. Taking a live look at the DTE outage map, we are seeing outages scattered across the area right now, with the largest pockets still in Detroit, Dearborn, and Southfield. And if you haven't already, check out the free 7 app. Great for a day like today and a weekend like this one. You can track the rain and the storms throughout the weekend down to your very own neighborhood with our 7 First Alert radar. Turning now to the case that shook the entire nation, the murder of George Floyd. Former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin will spend more than 2 decades behind bars for Floyd's death. Chauvin was sentenced yesterday, during which time he addressed the court. It was the first time we've heard Chauvin speak publicly to the Floyd family.
I'm not able to give a full formal statement at this time, but very briefly though, I do want to give my condolences to the Floyd family.
Chauvin is facing more legal trouble and kept his statement brief, as you saw. Court TV's legal correspondent Julia Janae has reaction to the sentence from Minneapolis.
Mixed emotions are reverberating through Minneapolis in the wake of the announcement of the sentence for Derek Chauvin. Judge Peter Cahill deciding 22.5 years for the convicted killer. There are expressions of disappointment from those in front of the courthouse, also those who feel that this is closure. The judge heard 4 victim impact statements from family members of George Floyd, including Floyd's 7-year-old daughter, Gianna. We sat down with one of the jurors who was on the panel that convicted Derek Chauvin. Brandon Mitchell, juror number 52, told us his reaction to the judge's decision.
I think the judge did what's fair, but I do think it's a little bit light. I think that I know the prosecution was asking for 30, and I thought 25 to 30 would have been fair as well. So I do think that is on the light end, but I think the judge did what's right.
During those victim impact statements, some of the family members asked this court to decide the maximum sentence allowed under law, which would have been 40 years. Attorney General Keith Ellison, after that sentence, said in a press conference that this is one of the harshest sentences that the state has seen for a police officer. Reporting in Minneapolis, Julia Janae with Court TV.
Let's check back in now with Hallie, keeping an eye on those moving storms. Hallie?
And it has been a tough night, a tough morning, but at least we're getting a bit of a break right now. More showers and storms expected across southeast Michigan. I'll have your hour-by-hour forecast coming up.
But first, as we continue to track that flooding across Metro Detroit, MDOT will join us for a live interview about what they're seeing and efforts underway right now to pump that water off of the roads. You're watching 7 Action News this morning. We continue to see flooding on expressways across Metro Detroit, on I-75, I-94, the Southfield Freeway, and the Lodge alike. We have seen crews working to clear the water from those roadways. Right now, MDOT spokesperson Diane Cross, she's joining us live from the phone. Diane, thanks for being here this morning.
Good morning. Thank you for helping us get the word out to tell people they need to not drive on most of the unless they absolutely have to today, because we do have water everywhere.
Such an important reminder, a safety reminder. So what are your crews seeing right now, Diane?
Well, we're dealing with water on most of the freeways in Metro Detroit for a number of reasons. Number one, we just had more coming down than the pumps could handle, and therefore the pumps have either had to shut off, just like a breaker does in your house, or we've lost power, which that's also been an issue in a number of areas. So until we can get generators to some of these pump houses, we can't get them going again. And then we also have the problem of the catch basins, which are the drains on the roadway, not draining the water because they're filled with either trash, which it only takes a little bit in that catch basin to block it. Again, just like, hair in your bathtub type of thing. If something is blocking that drain, the water can't go down. So until we can manually go to all the catch basins along the route, the water's going to sit there until we can open it up to get them to drain. So we've got a multiple of issues that are all happening at the same time.
And Diane, put this into perspective for us. Has MDOT ever had to deal with conditions this intense from flooding? Can you compare this to the needs of MDOT, say, back during 2014? I know there was a major flood event then as well.
I would say it's second in line to that one in my experience. I've been with MDOT maybe the last 7 years. This is the second worst that we've had because it's the quantity of rain in such a short amount of time. Again, using the bathtub analogy, if your bathtub is full because it's been, you've been running it all night and then you keep the tap going, there's just nowhere for that water to go. So it just has to, accumulate on the floor where it sits on the freeway because it has nowhere to go. For example, in the Dearborn area, we've got the Ecorse Creek that when that is full, the water that normally drains into that creek, it overflows, and unfortunately not just our freeway of M39 and I-94, but also neighborhoods and the residents that suddenly have water in their basement as well. So I would definitely say this is one of the worst.
And of course, Dearborn, you mentioned that's one of the areas I think hit the hardest right now dealing with flooding. And you mentioned, Diane, urging people to avoid the roads, especially the freeways if they can. But for those who do need to drive, I know no one has a crystal ball, but when can you expect some progress here on some of these most flooded freeways?
Well, I did just drive 275 from 94 to M5, and that freeway does not have any flooding. But what has happened, because we did get so much water, we've had a number of potholes that have popped up on that freeway because it's already a freeway in need of repair, and therefore adding all the water has unfortunately weakened that, so we're going to have more potholes. But as the morning goes on, it will get better as long as no more rain comes down. The drains will slowly start to let water go down, and as we get them cleared or we get the pump houses to get new power coming in, that it will get better throughout the morning. But it is probably going to go into most of today, would be my guess, before we get a lot of this water off the road.
Diane Cross from MDOT, thank you so much for joining us this morning. You are now taking a live look at the Southfield Freeway at Warren Avenue. You're going to see in just a moment, crews, there we go, crews working to try, as Diane mentioned, to clear that water from the pavement. That's an ongoing effort this morning. 7 First Alert meteorologist Hallie Vogel is tracking that rain. Hallie, you just heard Diane mention that this is going to take some time, and I know more showers are on the way, which will make this even harder for crews.
Right. Now, the good news is, if there is any, at least we're getting a break right now. I know we're going to see more rain developing this afternoon, even a few heavier thunderstorms, but at least we'll have some hours in between. Just stay alert. We know the rain may not be coming down right now in your area, but you saw the pictures. You heard from MDOT, a lot of flooding out there. So active pattern continues through the weekend into next week. We have days of rain. It's not going to last all day, but we're going to see the opportunity at some point during the day each day. And then very warm, very muggy conditions that also persists here in the coming days. We have the flood watch for all of us until 4 a.m. and then we do have the flood warnings for Washtenaw and Wayne County. Also had report to Grosse Pointe Farms reporting 6.5 inches of rain that fell overnight. And again, we heard from MDOT that it's just too much rain in a short period of time. On average, about 1.5 to 3.5 outside of the warning area has fallen across the area, but within Washtenaw and Wayne County, especially from Ypsilanti all the way to Detroit, about 3 to 6, even 6.5 inches of rainfall. Rain moving to the north and to the west right now. You can see some of the heavier rain from Saginaw and then north and near of Grand Rapids. Another batch lifting out of Chicago, and we'll continue to fill in just to our west as we go through the next several hours. It is a stagnant weather pattern we have. A lot of people asking, why are we getting days and days of rain? We have low pressure blocked. We have high pressure off to the east, and in between we're getting that flow out of the Gulf and just a lot of moisture coming up from the south. And this continues, this active pattern here in the coming days. We see little change. The slight risk for severe weather, any sunshine we get to break out in between the showers will actually provide more instability to fuel storms for the afternoon and evening. You see the cutoff point from about Mount Clemens to Adrian to the east, a marginal risk, which means an isolated chance for a storm, but back to the west, we are looking at the opportunity for more scattered activity. The timing 2 to about 10 p.m. Not to say we're not going to see rain or storms before that, but the more likelihood to get some of those stronger storms would be more after 2 o'clock. So temperatures right now low to mid 70s. It is just so muggy too. That doesn't change for us here in the coming days all the way through Monday. We're looking at dew points all the way into the low 70s, just about as high as we get here in Michigan. And that slight risk extends all the way towards Chicago into areas like Champaign, Illinois. So we're going to continue to watch that trend from the southwest to the northeast, with the slight risk for us covering much of the area. Even an isolated tornado cannot be ruled out, along with large hail and damaging winds, and then the potential for more localized flooding too. Tomorrow we're in a marginal risk, which means again for the afternoon after 2 p.m. could see 1 or 2 of these storms firing up, could be strong to possibly severe with heavy rain, and that is going to be again for the afternoon or evening hours on Sunday. Very hot, very muggy for Sunday, with temperatures well into the 80s. About 83 for us today. We're going to call it rounds of rain. If you're trying to get an opportunity to get outdoors, it is going to be tough to time out lengths of time without a shower trying to come through. Temperatures tonight in the low 70s. We get a bit of a break. Scattered rain showers for the morning, I think more numerous even by the afternoon on Sunday. 87 tomorrow. We'll keep that heat going for Monday, even mid 80s on Tuesday. Not real optimistic to dry out. As a matter of fact, rain chances continue all the way through next week.
Might be a good weekend to stay inside if you can. Thanks, Hallie. RV rental companies are booking up fast for the summer. More people want to stay in the comforts of home while on the road. What it can cost you more than just gas. That's after the break. You're watching 7 Action News this morning. Since the start of the pandemic, more people have been renting campers and RVs as safe vacation options, but they might not be for everyone. Our Alicia Smith has some of the hidden costs so you don't waste your money.
The camper and RV craze that began last summer during the pandemic is showing no signs of letting up. But while it appears to be a great way to travel, there are some downsides to know if you're thinking of renting one.
The vacation rage of 2020 is now the hot trend again in 21, renting an RV, motorhome, or a camper. Money Magazine says it all started because they were virus friendly, since you drive across the country with your own bedroom and kitchen. But experts say many people last year ended up surprised at the total cost. Rentals can range from $100 to $300 per night, similar to a hotel, but campsites are another $50 to $100 a night. And since recreational vehicles get just 4 to 10 miles per gallon, gas can cost $75 to $100 per day. And as gas is now edging past $3 a gallon, $1 more than in 2020, a fill-up can now set you back $150. The biggest cost surprise for many people, though? Insurance. Your auto insurance may not cover the full value of that RV, and your credit card may not cover it at all. You may have to pay $25 or more per day for RV insurance. But in the end, it's still cheaper than a $500 a night luxury resort, and you have your own COVID-free accommodations, which can be well worth the cost.
Bottom line, campers are a great way to travel, but with $3 a gallon gasoline, just know all the cost involved so you don't waste your money. I'm Alicia Smith, 7 Action News.
In the next 30 minutes, we're following stories from Farmington Hills, Dearborn, and Detroit. That's where Jennifer Ann Wilson is live this morning, keeping an eye on that flooding. Jen?
Yeah, right now I'm on Livernois, and as you can see behind me, a number of people have pulled over to the side to take a look at what is happening here on I-94. It's drawn quite a crowd, and really, I don't blame them because it has definitely got our attention. This is something I've never seen before. We've got multiple semi-trucks stuck on the freeway, submerged partially in water, and this is just one of many spots dealing with flooded and stranded vehicles.
Taking action for you. You're watching 7 Action News this morning.
Now at 9:30, more rain on the way to Metro Detroit after storms throughout the night as we look at live radar, what we can expect this morning, and who could get hit the hardest. And this is the Southfield Freeway at Warren Avenue right now. You can see water continues to sit on the roadway there. Stretches of I-75, I-94, and the Lodge are also partially flooded this morning. We're seeing lights there as crews work to pump the water off of the road. I'm Jen Shantz. Thank you so much for staying with us. It's already been a rainy morning and more rain is on the way. Let's send it right over to 7 First Alert meteorologist Hallie Vogel tracking those conditions for us.
All right, Jen, we're getting a little break right now, but it doesn't mean that water's going anywhere anytime real soon. So unfortunately, been dealing with it through the overnight hours. I keep showing you what's estimated on radar. We've had just a slew of reports coming in. On the lighter side of rain, about 1 inch to 1.5 inches, which is still a healthy dose of rain. Heavy side, over 6.5 inches in Garden City, 6.5 reported in Grosse Pointe. And you can see that swath of snow that triggered the warning, the flash flood warning last night, extends from Canton, Dearborn Heights to Dearborn, Hamtramck, all the way to the Grosse Pointes. And that has been the biggest problem. So that continues to be, at least watching that water recede, a bit of a threat, certainly on area roads. So we're looking at Washtenaw and Wayne County under a flood warning until noon, until we can get that water to start to recede. We'll let you know if that's extended. The Rouge River also, as you can imagine, near Dearborn, Dearborn Heights, and Detroit, rising quickly with the heavy rain. And also the Clinton River near Clinton Township reported flooding there, with the flood warning continuing until further notice. We do have the watches in effect, a flood watch for all of southeast Michigan, and that goes until 4 o'clock tomorrow morning. So what we're anticipating, it doesn't look like a widespread area or wall of water, so to speak, coming in for the afternoon, but instead we're getting these scattered showers and storms that will start to redevelop. And you can see heaviest to the north and west of us. We're starting to see a little bit of redevelopment here and there, but that will continue into the afternoon. Isolated to scattered storms. Some of those could be on the stronger side with temperatures in the low 80s today. Jen, it is so muggy. You can just feel it out there. That continues as well through the weekend.
Being hit in both directions there, Hallie. Thank you. As we prepare for the possibility of more storms, many Metro Detroiters, they are still dealing with the aftermath from that first round of rain that Hallie mentioned. 7 Action News reporter Jennifer Ann Wilson is live from Detroit's west side. Jennifer Ann, we saw a lot of action behind you in your last live shot. What are you seeing now?
Well, it is a very, very busy morning here in Detroit. Michigan State Police say that they've actually reached out to other divisions and having additional crews, the daytime crews, the nighttime crews, everyone working to resolve things. Behind me, we've got a couple semi-trucks stuck in water, and I've met, as you can see, we've got a number of people out here. Take a look. It has drawn dozens and dozens to pull over and take a look. This is a site that really people have never seen. Freeways turned to rivers. Hours later, still a river. It doesn't seem to be receding, not very quickly. Tina here actually brought binoculars, which was so smart. I wish I would have thought to bring mine. Tell us what you're seeing out here.
A trash truck. It seems like something way in the back. It's like a boat or something, like it's white and it's tilted over.
And that's way back, like underneath the overpass.
Yeah.
And then we see these two semi-trucks over here. They were at one point trying to tow it out, but what happened with that?
The rope snapped.
The chain snapped.
Yeah.
Holy moly. This isn't easy.
Then one of the drivers is like almost like in the water trying to hook it back up again.
And I got to imagine this is a dangerous job because at this point, hopefully everything is turned off, but you don't know with this much water, is there going to be an electrical shortage? Is there going to be an issue with one of the vehicles that could travel through the water? You don't know what's there. So it could definitely be pretty dangerous. So you're keeping a close eye, Tina. And as we look at this I-94, take a look at some video that I shot just a little earlier this morning and not that long ago at all, down Livernois at Tireman. This was quite a scene also because Livernois is still flooded. The water has receded, but there are a number of abandoned vehicles on the road, some vehicles that look like they got into a crash. And then amidst all of that, there are other vehicles trying to weave their way through the water around the abandoned vehicles. And then some of those vehicles have actually stalled out once they get to the other side of the water. So if you see standing water, you don't know how deep it is, please turn around. Do not drive through it. And we do have additional video. So we're back out here live. I'm not sure if we have additional video ready or if we can bring you back out here live, but we are seeing flooding like this on freeways really all over the Detroit area. In Wayne County, MSP says they are working very diligently. Do we have the next video and sound ready? If we do, I can toss to that. Otherwise, I can. Yes. Okay. So let's roll this next video. This is actually on 94, just a couple blocks from where we are now. And take a listen to this gentleman who has been watching. He's been here near the freeway for hours watching things unfold. Take a listen to what he has seen.
Basically, on the other side of there, 94 and Warren, there was a car fire. There was a bunch of other cars, like probably 10 plus cars. Not on fire, but only one car, but at the same time, it's like all flooded and it's all the way towards probably going.
Vehicle fires. These tow trucks have been able to remove some of the vehicles, but as you can see, these semi-trucks are quite a difficult challenge, especially with this much water on the road and, a lot unknown about what is beneath that water. So it is definitely taking a lot of strategy and a lot of care. You can see, though, this is something many people have really never seen before. We saw it on M39 as well this morning, completely underwater, cars being diverted off the freeway. So this is quite a morning. We're going to be hopping around a little bit more to see what else things are looking like. But if you don't have to drive, I would just avoid it for a bit, let this water recede. If you do, avoid the freeways. The freeways are a mess, and be very, very cautious on the side streets. Jen, back to you.
Jennifer Ann, seeing the semi and the garbage truck there for perspective shows you how intense that flooding is. Good advice to have people just stay off the roads if they can. Thanks. We'll check back in with you in our next half hour. And when heavy rain like this starts falling, people in one Dearborn Heights neighborhood, they go into prep mode. Many people who live along Courier Street say their homes and basements have flooded twice in the past 7 years. They now fear it's going to happen again. Rescuers were using boats in the street to help people back in 2019. The mayor has formed a commission to try and find ways to prevent future flooding. And right now, DTE Energy says nearly 39,000 customers are without power. We've seen that number go up throughout the morning. This is a live look at the DTE outage map. You can see large pockets of outages in Sterling Heights, Detroit, and Dearborn. Right now, there's no estimate for when that power could be restored. And don't forget to download the free 7 app right now. You can track the rain and storms throughout the weekend down to your very own neighborhood with the powerful 7 First Alert radar. The desperate search for survivors continues near Miami this morning after a condo building collapsed earlier this week. So far, 4 people are confirmed dead, with more than 150 people still missing. There were smoky conditions near the collapse site overnight, where officials in the area warned people to stay inside if they can. Crews are still hopeful of finding survivors. Search and rescue teams say they've been hearing encouraging sounds like knocking coming from sonar. Officials say crews are putting their own lives at risk to try to find those people potentially stuck in the rubble as investigators continue to look at what caused the catastrophe. Next, a fast food restaurant is closed in Detroit after a health inspection. What needs to happen before a Church's Chicken location can safely reopen? You're watching 7 Action News this morning. A Detroit fast food restaurant voluntarily closed its doors after being cited with a list of health violations. The Church's Famous Fried Chicken, located on 7 Mile near Conant on the city's east side, temporarily closed. The health department investigated after a complaint about spoiled food being served there. Investigators say they found 7 cases of chicken that expired a week ago. Some of it was even cooking in the fryers. The restaurant also has to pass a follow-up inspection before it can reopen. Google is testing a new feature that could help people avoid misleading or incorrect information online. The feature warns people when search results may not be the most reliable, like searching a developing news story or a trending topic. Google says the tool does not tell people whether the information is right or wrong, but warns them that the story could continue to develop. Allergies and asthma. Allergies and the outdoors. It can be a recipe for disaster for some kids if you're unprepared. A doctor and author will be joining us live with advice from her new book to help keep kids safe this summer. But first, let's check back in with Hallie.
Of course, it's been all about the flooding rains from overnight, and now we're getting a little break from the rain right now, but more showers and storms developing this afternoon. Some could be severe. We'll time that out in your full forecast.
This is a live look over the Southfield Freeway at Warren Avenue. We're seeing flooding across Metro Detroit on I-75, I-94, and the Lodge. MDOT tells us this morning's flooding has been almost as severe as the flooding back in 2014. Of course, Hallie, you've been tracking it all morning. We have a little bit of lull in that rainfall, but more is on the way.
Yeah, unfortunately, we do have more of this scattered showers and storms. It does not look like it's going to be real widespread, lasting for a really long time, but unfortunately I wish I had better news. I could just say we're going to dry out, but that's not the trend that we're in. As a matter of fact, this unsettled weather pattern stays with us not only today but tomorrow, even extending into next week. So this is really a pretty stagnant pattern. Flood watch continues for all of Metro Detroit until 4 o'clock tomorrow morning. We have the flood warning that continues for Washtenaw and Wayne County for the heavy rain, the flooding rains you saw in that picture that fell overnight. 3 to even over 6 inches of rain fell, and you can see that some of these reports coming in. So just west of Wayne, over 6.5 inches of rain, 6.5 in the Grosse Points, 5.5 just north of Detroit. See these little bullseyes with very heavy rain. Outlying areas still healthy amounts of 2 to 4 inches on a widespread scale just from last night into the early morning hours. Heavy rain to the north and west. So again, we're getting a bit of a break, a few showers in between, but nothing real heavy. We're going to continue to watch from the southwest to the northeast any redeveloping storms. And look at all the flood warnings and watches that extend all the way down to our south and west. The slight risk for severe weather, and that is on a scale of 1 to 5. So we're at a 2 this afternoon from 2 p.m. till 10 p.m. Still think a few of these storms will pop maybe a little earlier. Any sunshine we can squeeze in will actually promote the chance for more storms this afternoon. It really heats things up, brings in the instability we need for storms. So we'll watch that. Temperatures right now 75 degrees downtown, 75 in Pontiac, 73 with light rain falling in Howell. So as we go through the morning hours, we get to noon, temperatures approaching 80 degrees. We should get into the low 80s before those storms arrive. And with the heat, the humidity, and of course all that moisture, we're going to continue that threat for heavy rain within any thunderstorms that do develop. That continues into the evening hours till about 10 p.m. and then becoming a little bit more scattered after that. But looking at our hour-by-hour forecast, the pattern here, notice the yellows here, so it covers most of Metro Detroit. The exception from Detroit down toward Monroe, Adrian area, still a marginal risk, which means an isolated strong to severe storm possible, but that extends all the way near Chicago and back to the south and west. Now the threat for any storms developing, not only the heavy rain promoting more flooding, but also damaging wind gusts, hail, but also isolated tornado as we have a little spin in the atmosphere too. So we'll continue that till about 10 p.m. We get to the overnight hours, scattered rain showers tomorrow morning. This is 6 a.m. We're beginning to see a line of storms redeveloping, heavy rain possible. A little bit of a break for the mid and late morning hours, very similar to today. We heat up in the afternoon, and that will also bring in more showers and storms. And those triggered for later on Sunday could also be strong to possibly severe in a couple of spots. So temperatures today in the low 80s. We see these rounds of rain showers. May not rain continuously all day, but it's going to be hard to time out real long periods of dry weather. Scattered rain overnight, isolated thunder as well. 87 for a high tomorrow with our heat index near or above 90. Very muggy conditions all the way into early next week with those temperatures into the 80s, Jen.
Hallie, thank you. Millions of kids across the country are impacted by food allergies, and our guest right now knows firsthand about the safety issues those can bring along with it. She's the author of Mommy, I Can't Breathe, offering advice to manage allergies, especially in the summer. Joining us now is food allergy and asthma expert Dr. Renee Matthews, or Dr. Renee, as I know you go by. So talk to us about the inspiration, Dr. Renee, for writing this book, Mommy, I Can't Breathe.
I joined a bunch of Facebook groups that had allergy moms and dads, and they had tons and tons of questions. And because I've lived 44 years with food allergies and asthma, I was answering as many as I could, but I also was looking, talking about my mom and what she did to make sure that I got this far. And I've lived such a wonderful life, even though I am allergic to the top 8 allergens. So I wanted to make sure that the parents knew that they don't need to worry. Their kids are going to be great.
And Dr. Renee, what can families do to make sure their homes are friendly for people with allergies? If you have visitors over, what can people do to avoid common mistakes?
First thing is communication. If you don't tell anyone, then they have no idea. So if you don't tell anyone there's a nut allergy, then they're going to have nuts in the house, nuts sitting around and everyone's touching nuts and touching everyone. So the really biggest thing is communication, so that everything is put in a certain place so that not everyone can get to the people who need to get to it can get to it, and those that don't need to don't. So for instance, I have a friend, she invites me over, she makes a gumbo that I can eat, and that is completely in a different room than the seafood gumbo, because I'm allergic to seafood. So there's no way to cross-contaminate with spoons.
And you say that allergies and asthma are closely aligned. Why is that?
So it's really a strange thing, but the allergy, the rhinitis that people get, during different seasons, that has the same symptoms. They can often turn into asthma attacks for asthmatics. So it's just a lot of the allergens cross.
And what, Dr. Renee, can people with allergies, or if they have kids who have allergies, do to ensure that they stay safe while traveling? I know people are probably thinking about summer camps right now.
Yeah. So traveling, the biggest thing to do is talk to your doctor, make sure you've got all of the travel concerns taken care of with your doctor. Request a letter so that the doctor can say, these are the allergies, these are the medications the person needs to carry on board, these are the foods, this is why they need to carry food on board. And then make sure that you review the allergy. The airlines have allergy policies. Most people don't know that. Print that allergy policy out, take it with you, call the airlines, ask them all your questions. You might be able to get them to offer you a buffer zone where the next, you and the aisle before you and the aisle behind you don't have whatever your allergy is. Select carefully what time you travel. You should travel first thing in the morning because planes are usually cleaned at the end of the night. So then that is the cleanest plane. If possible, try to make arrangements to get on board early so that you can clean the seat, the tray table, the light switch, anything that you're going to touch. And make sure that all the people around you, flight attendants, the other passengers, are aware of the allergies.
Such great advice, especially as people jump back into traveling after so many of us have not been doing so during the pandemic. And before we let you go, Dr. Renee, can you tell our viewers where they can pick up your book?
Yes, you can go to my website, mommyican'tbreathe.com, and you can find the book there.
Thank you, Dr. Renee Matthews. We appreciate you for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
We'll be right back. Okay. It was a shaky flight to Salt Lake City for 4 people on Southwest who had to be hospitalized after the flight. The plane departed from Chicago and landed in Salt Lake City Friday afternoon. In a statement, Southwest Airlines said there was moderate turbulence on the flight. 3 of its flight attendants and a passenger suffered minor injuries as a result of that turbulence. The airline described Flight 1753's arrival as, quote, an uneventful landing into Salt Lake City. No word yet on the current conditions of those 4 people. Visitors to the Coliseum in Rome will be getting their first look at the depths of the ancient arena. Workers have been shoring up the Coliseum's underground passages of the building for 2.5 years now to allow for tours of what was known as the arena's backstage. During the centuries when Romans filled the Coliseum, dozens of platforms and wooden elevators would haul up gladiators and animals as they made dramatic entrances. A luxury shoemaker footed the bill and paid to have the arena cleaned to be removed of decades of grime. Triplets in California are facing a major life change together. They're all pregnant at the same time. Gina, Nina, and Victoria Tran were each born 4 minutes apart. Now they're all due to deliver babies over the next 4 months in July, August, and November.
I'm Gina. I'm actually the oldest by 4 minutes. And I'm having a girl, and her name is Leighton Grace. And I'm Nina. I'm the middle. 4 minutes. And I'm having a boy, and his name is Hendrix Paul. And I'm Victoria, the youngest, by 4 minutes and then 8 minutes. I'm having a boy, and his name is Zayden Seth.
The triplets say they are best friends, and get this, they also plan to give birth at the same hospital with the very same doctor. That's pretty cool. There's still much more to come on 7 Action News this morning, starting at 10 o'clock. A brand new immersive exhibit opening in Detroit. A closer look at all the fun ways the Michigan Science Center is helping to keep math alive. That's coming up at 10 o'clock. We'll be right back.